Hello, hello.
Hello. Waiting for
Waiting
my
for-
YouTube to catch up.
Right, mine too. Yeah, there's quite a bit of a delay. Hi, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Here
morning.
it goes.
There we go.
Now we know that you peoples are seeing us. So
For better or worse, I'm here.
so I don't want to get into it yet as to why you're on, but you're on for a very special reason, and it's gonna be fun to talk about that. So yes, it is me running the show today, guys, and I've not done this before. I'm the Ed McMahon to James's Johnny Carson. So we're going to see how this goes. This is
These are my backup glasses. I don't know where I put the other pair. For those of you in the chat asking.
I'm guessing they're probably on a workbench somewhere. You've been busy.
They were probably right next to where these glasses were, and I just didn't see them without my glasses. So.
The Velma problem. My
Exactly.
glasses.
Yeah,
I can't find my glasses. All right, guys. I guess we are going to go ahead and start. I'm going to start recording our intro audio. So, welcome to the RetroMacCast, episode number 591. Wow, we are so close to 600. I have a very special guest with me this morning, Steve. James is out and about, and he didn't want to skip another week after just being gone for several weeks. So, good morning, Steve.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Good. Now, we James and I had discussed having somebody on last week when he said he couldn't do it this week, and special news came up that I saw on Reddit that made this even better on multiple fronts for you to be on today of all days.
Yes.
So that is what we are going to talk about on today's episode. We are going to attempt to do all the normal stuff that we do when James is on and running the show. So bear with us, folks. We'll be right back. All right.
I do notice, John, your audio is making some minor noises, but I don't know if that's reflective in the recording or if it's just. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, yeah, it may be me.
It was just little crackling noises. I don't know if it was.
Okay. Wow, we've had that issue before. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really wish I mean, this is a brand new microphone.
Doesn't bother me. Just letting you know.
Blue Yeti. All right, so we are going to go into the eBay finds. Let me cue that up. Oops, there we go.
Okay, but Dave says the audio sounds good, so that's all that matters.
All right, okay. All right, there is that. Boom, boom. All right. Let's see, we got, oh, hey, Derek, Trina, Jeremy, Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. Good morning, guys. Fog Wraith.
Good morning, everybody.
Some guy named Mac84. Let's see.
I don't trust that guy.
All right. So I don't have I didn't remember to bring up the links from last week. So you're on your own figuring out what everything went for last week. So we're just going to go with this week. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start. All right. So eBay finds again. Normally, I'm fed this stuff by James, who does a great job of finding things. So I just did a search on stuff this morning that I've actually been kind of looking at. Nothing I'm going to bid on, because obviously I wouldn't be sharing that. So let's get started with the first thing, which is, this is kind of cool. It's an Apple Macintosh dual SCSI case. This one currently has an Apple CD and a Yamaha CDRW drive. It's very nice having, of course, the Apple logo on the front of this thing. I always thought it would be very nice to have a dual case like this to be able to do an optical drive and, of course, throw a regular SCSI SD, blue SCSI, something into the second bay. This one looks quite nice. It's kind of beige, boxy. They're sitting on top of each other, so it is very cubey. This currently has a bid of $70. Having 2 days left. What do you think? Have you ever run across any of these dual?
If I ran across one of them, it would be in my collection. I have not purchased any of these, but they are tempting. It's, that idea of having two SCSI devices in one enclosure, one power cord, one SCSI cable coming out of it.
Right.
Very convenient.
Absolutely.
Now I want one, but I don't know if I'm necessarily going to spend $70 for. I mean, I would be interested in an empty one because I have so many drives and junk that.
Absolutely, yeah, but obviously this is getting some traction. If this has got 3 bids at $70, I don't know what the start.
Yeah,
but that's pretty awesome.
And what Derek is saying in the chat, this does remind me of the Lacey cases that used to be advertised ages ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the manufacturer of this case.
Got it. Yeah, I really wish they showed the back on one of the pictures on this so we could kind of see. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Derek. With that little kind of dot feature down on the bottom, absolutely.
Yeah, they do have the seller has some similar things and has another case, but it does not show the back of it, and the front is a little different. So who knows? But it looks like at least multiple companies made these. So
that's great. All right, so next up, so I've been fixing Compact Macs. I've got one running in the background that stopped running on me again last week because I had to go and do some more soldering on the analog board. So it is burn and test right now. Nice. That is a 512KE behind me, but the problem is I only have 3 of the kind of appropriate keyboards for these. These were, the 512, the 128, and the Mac Plus are only ones that used this particular keyboard with its interesting kind of phone cable connection. Mm-hmm. So I've got lots of the Compact Macs, but only 3 of the keyboards. So I've been looking at those. And so our next up, we've got a bid for, this is the model that would have come out with the Mac Plus. It's got the built-in numeric pad. $100. Yikes. This one's a buy it now. I'm sure if I did some searching around, I could probably find one that's actually being sold. I do know the ones for the 512 and the 128K are pricier than the Mac Plus one. Of course, it's nice that the Mac Plus one would work on a 512 or 128K, but of course it would be also very nice to have something appropriate for the system.
Yeah, and these seem to be interesting because it was not long ago where you could easily get these for $50 to $60. Sure, usually around the high end range. But I purchased a keyboard. It was in very good shape, actually. I think I purchased it for $70 or $80, and I thought I got a good deal. And that was a Mac Plus type keyboard like this. But it was the platinum color arrangement, so it's hard to tell if this one's yellowed or if it's just the different color.
It is hard to tell unless you've got them right next to each other. Because I had a Platinum Plus, and I could not even really tell it was a Platinum until I put it next to one of the more beige ones. I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely Platinum.
So, I mean, unfortunately, it seems like the close to $100 mark is sort of what some of these are going for. Usually that includes the cable. Usually it says it's tested, etc. Their returns. Sure. So, I always caution people to, make sure that they can return the item, make sure it's in good condition, because you may see the keyboard, it might be $100, and you go to purchase it, it doesn't work, and then the guy says, oh, well, as is, no refunds.
Right, so. Exactly. Now, okay, so I know Big Mess of Wires makes the Wombat, which is a great ADB USB. I don't know if anyone's ever made. Somebody certainly has made an adapter so you could use a newer style keyboard.
They have, and I actually made one. I built one.
Oh, you built Arduino based, I'm guessing?
Yeah, and I'll actually there's a YouTube video I did on one, and I'll just
fantastic.
I'll link it in the chat here. But essentially, yes, it's a little Arduino based thingamabobber, and what you can
trademark.
Exactly. And I didn't invent it or anything. I just followed the GitHub for somebody's project that they made. And what's nice about it is it does just work. Now it's for, unfortunately, the input for the keyboard is a PS2 connector. So it's not a Macintosh connector, but it does give you an option there. I will actually put the link in our little
because
chat
at least
here,
PS2
because you have
keyboards.
to share the link in YouTube. It won't let me do it. But
yeah,
there you go. And actually, here I could share if you want. I will share my screen very, very briefly just to show you what this thing looks like, because it is quite an interesting little device. For those of you who are watching us on the video, you'll get a little extra here. But it's just one of those things that is handy to have, especially if you don't have so many of those keyboards to go around.
Oh, here we go. All right, can you... Oh, there we go. Add it to the stream.
Yeah, there you go. So this is the little doodad. So this is very crude, obviously, because I built it. But you have the telephone handset connector coming out, and then you have the PS2 connector there for your standard IBM or PC keyboard, and you just plug one in, and then you plug the other one in there, and that's it.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I mean, because of course PS2 keyboards, I mean, dime a dozen. Yeah, that's not a problem finding any of those. Is there a similar mouse solution have you run across?
Yeah, there were a few mouse solutions that I found. The problem being that I did not see any that were available for me to tinker with or available for me to actually, go out and purchase. It seems like someone made an adapter that does both the mouse and the keyboard in one adapter.
Interesting. Wow.
But I couldn't find a way to purchase that. Maybe that has changed since then. I did find a few other websites that looked promising. So it might just be one of those things where it's under a different name that one wouldn't expect. But thankfully, there are solutions. Because when I was at VCF East just a few weeks ago, someone found a Macintosh Plus and was very tempted to buy it. But they said, you know what? I don't want to spend $100 on a keyboard. And I said, look, this adapter costs $15, $20 in parts. And, you can use a standard keyboard until you find one. He said, okay, great, sold. So,
and then you got your commission. So, yeah.
Yes, of course.
All right, so we'll move on to our last item. And we have got a set of very unusual Apple, well, unusual, I say, unusual to me. I don't think I've ever run across. It's a set of Apple paddles for the... obviously very early days of Apple for the Apple II. And so it's got the weird 16-pin connection, which were such a pain to work with because you actually had to open up. You had to worry about bending the little tiny legs. But you've got a set of very squat-looking paddles with I wish I knew the scale on these things so that the button looks huge compared to the actual paddle. And I kind of like that one of them has a black button and the other red, so you can remember which one's going to be paddle 1, paddle 2.
You almost feel weird pushing the button, like is something going to explode? What's
right? Yes, yeah. It should be under a little flap of glass to protect it until you're ready to press. $43. This has got 9 bids. This I like paddles. I've got several different paddle sets, Apple branded ones, but none like this. This is pretty darn cool.
I would expect that to go higher because I haven't seen those. So
back in the day, this is well. Oh my goodness, this ends in 14 hours. But yeah, it already has that $43 9 bits. So obviously people are interested. And what was kind of cool is even with the Apple IIe, you had an external kind of more what I'll call normal connector for paddles and joysticks, but you still had that 16-pin connector inside.
That's right. There was the port inside of that, so you could still use that.
Mm-hmm. And there were also people. There was a company that made 16-pin to the other. I forget the other style connector, but there was an adapter for those too, so you could use them externally or internally. Because you don't have to. Especially back in the day, you can imagine having to remove your monitor.
Oh yeah.
And then if you wanted to go from a paddle game to a joystick game, it was the same port.
Do that again. Yeah, I have a third-party joystick, and it has like the regular connector on it. Then it has an IBM connector. Then it has like the internal connector. So it has like 3.
Oh my gosh! I've seen the dual ones where you had the switch on the bottom because the IBM used a different impedance on the potentiometer, I believe. Because there's I think Javier Rivera did some conversions to convert.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the IBM ones, which were easier to find.
Different things.
Oh, absolutely. All right, I am going to call that section finished for eBay.
Well done.
Fog Wraith. What's this? Activator for a doomsday device?
Don't push both the buttons at once.
Sounds like you should be done in the Batman narrator voice. What's this? Activator for a doomsday device? Holy pedals, Batman.
Holy pedals, Batman.
Yeah, let's see. I've got... what I have is... this set.
Ooh,
right here.
nice. Hand controllers.
Hand controllers, yeah. And even though the box doesn't actually say Apple, it is a pair of what I've seen the same style as Apple branded with the Apple logo on it. But yeah, these are really cool.
Make that full screen so everybody can see.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, there. As far as like ergonomics on the panel goes, it is. There we go. I mean, that is a good design for a paddle. You've got the.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's got a 0 and 1 on the button, so you can easily tell. This is probably one of the best paddle designs I've seen for the tubes.
Yeah, I've seen those, but I've never had one in person. Seen one up close.
Mm-hmm. And I do believe I've got a set of the black ones somewhere. Again, similar style, just black.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Yeah, I only have Atari 2600 paddles, so that's the only paddles I have.
Oh, those are great too.
Yes. Warlords. Gotta play your Warlords.
All right. Well, let me bring up. I was going to play the video that you all had done before bringing you in to talk about.
Do you want me to narrate that, or you're just going to have the audio on for that?
Yeah, I'll just have the audio on for that, and as soon as it finishes, we'll pause it, and I'll
sure.
Bring us both back on screen. Let me just get this shared. And bring you full screen. Let's see here. There we go. That'll work. All right. We'll start recording and I'll play that. Hey, who's that?
I don't look happy. I don't think the audio is coming through, just so you know.
Oh.
Because I'm on the live YouTube thingamajiggy. What we often have to do is play the video file itself for it to actually...
Okay.
Yeah, but...
Hang on a second here. Let me...
No worries.
Yeah, it was recording on my end, but it wasn't playing, so... Let's see here. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Let me hear it. Let me pop the link in for it.
Yeah, sure.
So y'all can see it. Copy. And paste.
I could do some MST3K ad-libbing there to try and fill the mouths of everybody talking. I don't know if you do all the voices.
Yeah. Well, but all right. So we'll just go ahead and start recording. So what hopefully the people on the podcast have just heard, because we'll pop the audio in separately, is Tinker Different. Now, I was on Reddit, the vintage Apple page on Reddit, and there was a link for this, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And it's like, first person I see is you, followed by there were I didn't recognize everyone on the video, but it's certainly about 3 or 4 of them. I saw, like James Wages, whose videos are so good at helping you. I'm about to follow his tutorial for how to clean and lube the 800K floppies. And just a great guy. Of course, you fantastic. The gentleman who does Macintosh Garden.
Yep,
correct.
Christian.
Yep. Who we
might
had
be
on
in
the
the
show. Yeah, and we had him on the show.
That's right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
and that was fantastic. And it was great. So we had thought about having you on. This is perfect because today is the launch day for Tinker Different.
Yeah, so it, depending on your time zone, it may have launched yesterday sometime, but today it's available for everybody, no matter what your time zone is. So the whole idea behind this, and there is a great Q&A video that's also on the Tinker Different YouTube channel, and we could put that in the show notes or whatever, but that goes into a lot of more questions that people may have about this, but I'll just basically give an overview. Essentially, last year, a bunch of folks got together and they started thinking about making a new community for people to collaborate on projects and this and that. And it was one of those things where, an idea started, things get tossed around, and then life gets in the way, and obviously things could sort of go by the wayside. And, it built up steam again, and a bunch of other people were roped in to say, hey, would you be interested in this? And after the project, which didn't have a name yet, after the project started gaining a little bit of steam, I was invited to be a part of it. So we have some excellent people, like you said, you were naming some folks. We have Eric of Blue Scuzzy fame. We have Bruce from Breakus Creations, Mr. Fahrenheit, and all these sorts of people that you will recognize from social media or from YouTube or from other Mac groups, whether it's enthusiasts who are very much into PowerPC stuff or 68K stuff, or even archiving AUX software installations and the like. There's really a lot of diverse people of their interests in this group, which I think is great. So the idea was to build a community that is not only Apple II related or Macintosh related or PowerPC related or whatever, but to sort of make it a little bit more broad. And so if you scroll down on your forum list there, you'll see that while we do have a healthy vintage Apple section, we do have groups for IBM compatibles, Atari, Commodore, Sinclair machines, anything. And, these aren't set in stone. If we find that there's a huge outpouring of people that want to work on whatever it is, that will be something that we can add to it. And so the idea here is that you'd have one forum where the community is there for any of these systems. And you don't have to be an expert. You could be a complete novice with this stuff. And the idea here is that, we're just going to share our projects, share our knowledge, and have a good old clean geeky time. And, there were so many websites and forums that over the past, decade or so have, gone under, or, the information has been lost. And so it was very important that when we were striving out to build this, we set our standards pretty high as far as backup strategies, as far as how information can be dumped and saved, as far as the posts and the public things, etc., to make sure that this stuff is around for a very long time, because there's nothing worse as a tinkerer than asking a very specific question into your search engine, coming up to a forum post and seeing the images or the links are no longer there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Or the worst thing is if you've run across a great little tidbit on one of the Facebook pages, and then you will never, ever be able to find it again.
Yeah.
Ever.
And that's the thing. I mean, I use Facebook groups, I use Discord channels, but there's something about a forum where the search is a little bit better. Things are sort of, okay, this post is there. Unless somebody deletes it, it'll be there. And it's one of those things where you could go back to it, you could bookmark it.
Right.
And
right. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's one of those things where you don't have to worry about because the way we're embedding images here, those images are going to stay there. It's not relying on a third-party photo service where once they shut their doors, like people are saying in the chat, all the photos go away, and the post is useless, because hey, look what I did, this cool mod. Well, we can't see anymore. The photos are long gone.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you run across it, even like if you bring up an old page. Sometimes there's like a great page with stuff, information on it on Internet Archive of the Wayback Machine, and the text is there, but the images aren't anymore. And so yes, having something that everything's together. So even 20 years from now, if you're having to go back on the Wayback Machine, it's all going to be there. That's just great.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of people behind the scenes. I can't name them all. Kai Robinson is another one that have been working on this stuff. Like I said, it's been a project that's been going on for a while, and it's just being launched today. And so if you do go to the Tinker Different website, or you go to the Tinker Different YouTube page, there will be that Q&A stream that we did that was about an hour long, and there's a good handful of us there that was talking about some questions that we had received prior to the video being created, and we answered some in the live chat, etc. But very excited by the interest. We had about 50 or 60 people that were pre-registered to join it before it actually launched, so that was exciting. Mm-hmm. And some familiar faces on there are Sean from Action Retro's YouTube channel, the Macintosh Librarian. So all these people that you see on social media and such, they found their way here, which makes this very exciting.
So obviously you got the forums. Is there, because I got approved yesterday.
Yes.
So I'm on there as John L.
Great. I said great.
And so is there like a blog feature? Is it all just forums, or is there?
Yeah, so we are looking at a way to add like either a blog or a wiki or some type of thing like that. We're still just trying to figure out the best way to go about these things. So we are very open to wanting to have like a specialized page or a section. But one small example of this would be under the Vintage Apple forum group right there. You'll see a Vintage Apple 101 Getting Started page. And this isn't really a thread, but it's more of a standalone page. And what's cool about this is it will actually link to some resources. So we have like a Getting Started video that I did there. There's this great video by the Computer Clan there. And so what I've made an attempt of is just explaining a little bit about these vintage machines and why things may need to be recapped or whatever. Get somebody, sort of dip their toes into the water here. And this isn't set in stone. This will be updated. But one of the goals that I would personally like to see with the site, and so it'll happen at one point in time, is to have like a little bit of a wiki or some sort of standalone page where you could click on, let's say, something about the Quadra 800, and it would give you links to, let's say, a recapping guide. It would tell you maybe about the power supply compatibility, tell you about the software that works with it, link to Macintosh Garden for a restore disk or something like that. So I think that's some of the exciting things that we're thinking of, because, forum is great, but it would be also cool if you had like a standalone page, sort of like Wikipedia. When you go to their homepage, you get sort of a splash page of a dashboard of little things going on. It might be something cool to do that. But this is, a group that is, we have to agree on something before we push it forward. So this will be something that I'm sure will be retooled until we think of a proper way to present it. But I am happy to say that the sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like it's going to be a very welcoming to new people. Some of the other tech sites is like if you're a noob on there, there's no reason to be hostile because somebody's interested in something, even if they're just getting started. But you get that. You get the why are you even doing this? It's like hobbies don't need gatekeepers. It's,
definitely.
Unless you're keeping the gate open, going, come on in.
There's enough problems that we face as tinkerers of all experiences. I just blew up my beloved computer. I'm coming here for help. Don't chastise me.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh. So that is great. I'm so happy for the site. This looks great, and again,
we're happy to have you on.
so many great people involved in getting this started. I'm just very, very happy and looking forward to seeing what's on there and what's to come.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of the pages that I used to go to, or even like the Mac Rumors forums, used to have a big subsection of PowerPC 68K stuff. And it's stuff, either the people aren't active there anymore, or the groups have been reorganized where there's not really a space to talk about that stuff. So that was one of the forums I used to go to. Gosh, when I was still in high school. So it's just one of those things where we felt the strong need for there to be a place that is either talks about that vintage stuff. But yeah, if you want to talk about the latest Mac OS, you have a question about it, sure, you could. There's nothing to stop you from making a post here. And if you're cross-platform, you want to talk about a Commodore project or an Acorn project or whatever, you could do that here too. So I think it's for tinkerers of all types. I am proud to say, for better or worse, that I came up with the name of it. It was voted on, so it wasn't just my decision, but I came up with the Tinker Different name. I was driving, and just all of a sudden it popped in my head. So it's obviously
you did the logo too, different. Right?
And I did the logo as well, which was also voted on. We had some great submissions there. But yeah, so the logo, I actually have the napkin sketch here of when I first did, but that's just it's a classic or a classic 2 with the back off of it. So
yeah. Nice, very
but
nice.
That's my claim to fame. But we've had all sorts of people helping on this, whether it's to tinker with the logo to make it a little sharper or to change the colors on there. Everyone has been great in trying to get this thing launched, and it was a labor of love, and I'm very excited to see it out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Of course.
That is great. Yeah, this is very nice. Yeah, well, I only started using like Reddit like maybe a year ago, and it was nicer than Facebook as far as being able to find stuff, but it was still very kind of sporadic what would show up there.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have. This is going to be great having a nice centralized area for everything.
Oh, for sure.
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Reddit has one of these things where, depending on the group, if you find a post that's old, you can't really reply to it. So, I've been in situations where I know the answer. The guy that's asked this question, I know the exact answer. It's like, I can't reply.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Even if you end up replying to a thread on something like this that's a couple of years old, doesn't mean that somebody else that has the same problem, who did a search, who found this reference, isn't going to be able to find that information useful that was added years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It just works. It's just a knowledge dump. So it's there forever once you put it in there.
Yeah, that we should make that a rule, because you've probably seen this before. You find a post exactly what the problem that you have, and then the guy just replies solved, but he doesn't explain what he did.
Right. Yes.
That's a bannable
That
offense.
was very helpful. Thank you very much.
Of course, I'm joking, but it would be lovely to make people a little more kinder when they say, yeah, I solved this. Okay, what did you do? Because we all 10 years later need to know exactly what you did.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I don't really have anything for like a news segment. This actually kind of works for main segment and news segment. Do you want to share?
I think you have to click the button, but we could.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then I could talk a little bit about VCF East just briefly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that'll be it for the news. That'll be great.
Sure.
So what I'm about to show here is, I'm just going to show it and let you say what it is.
Sure.
On here.
It's very spooky. No Macs were harmed in the filming of this photograph, I assure you. The taking of this photograph, rather. But yeah, so these are 4 Macintosh Classic 2 machines that came into my possession. Long story short, these were actually responsible for running an exhibit at a science museum located near where I live, fairly close. It's still like an hour away. But the Liberty Science Center, which you may have heard of in the East Coast, had an exhibit set up for children called the How Tall Are You exhibit. And essentially, one of these Macs was running the software, had a serial port device plugged into it, and this device would measure, the height of whoever entered this apparatus, and it would speak out loud, "You are 5'2" or whatever. And so my brother happened to work at the museum, and during one of these meetings, somebody said, "Well, we have this this exhibit that runs on old Macintosh computers, but it stopped working." And immediately my brother's like, "I know a guy for that." And so about, this was 2013, 2014, I ended up going to the museum and taking a look at what had occurred. And these machines were just, their caps were going. This was before I knew how to recap anything, but these were the 4 Macintosh Classic 2s that were in rotation, and the last one was on its last legs. And I don't know how, but I was able to do some scuzzy wizardry to connect the internal drive to my PowerBook, rip the application off because they didn't have a copy of it, and was able to give them a PowerBook to run it off of for the meantime. And then I ended up coming back and giving them another machine, which is a Centris, which is still there now, but we're trying to work out an emulated method if you run an emulator on something over the serial port as sort of a long-lasting solution, because they had something internally. They were going to try and replace it with like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, but it never quite got off the ground. So what my payment was for this was these old machines that didn't work. So I didn't get paid, but I got this donation of these 4 machines. And this was before I took some of them apart for parts. But this was my porch one Halloween, where I put them all on display. I hand drew some of those faces. The others, the bomb one was a printout. But this was quite a lot of fun to do. And they're sitting in my garage now, so they're safe. They're not outdoors. But I always laugh when this comes up as like the, hey, did you post this a year ago type thing on social media? Because I got a lot of great reaction from people coming up to the door.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Your Mac-o'-lantern. Yes.
Exactly. And they weren't harmed. So. Right.
The Classic and Classic 2 are actually my favorite case designs of the
really?
Of the compact Macs. Yeah. There's something about this slightly curved front, that one simple line across, across it.
This was the first Classic 2 I ever owned, because I only had the Classic 1. So I still have, now some of those screens, as you can imagine, have horrible burn-in because they were just on
at a museum
for 30 years or whatever.
Right.
So that was... some of the CRTs I don't think I could use, but I have a stack of the logic boards. I think I fixed 2 or 3 of them already, and of course hard drives and floppy drives and stuff. So good to have parts.
The one Classic 2 I took apart. I don't know if it's going to be the corrosion on the board is so bad.
Oh no!
I need to try to do the bath and vinegar. Clean it, and then the some distilled water, and see what I can get off of there. And it'll definitely be. I think I already have one of the cap kits for Classic 2 that I bought from Console 5. I figured it would be a good start one for doing the learning to do the surface mount caps, because it's not a ton of them like the SC30.
Yeah, there's different revisions, so you have to be a little careful. What I would suggest is, because there are different amounts of caps, I would suggest if you have a Macintosh Classic, not the Classic 2, but if you have the first one, I would try doing that first. The only reason is the Classic 2 has a nasty cap that's right between the battery holder and a chip and the like the main power socket, and it's like right between there, so you might want to practice on something that doesn't have that. But
sounds like a plan. I'm pretty sure I've got a Classic up in the attic as the I talked the other week about how I've got several compact Macs in my attic from a repair guy, which again, all these that were very nice and easy. I love the through the hole capacitors.
Oh yeah, that makes
so nice and easy.
Yeah, but the Classic is only 8 caps on the logic board, so that makes it a little bit easier for you to attack.
Nice. All right, well, let's go ahead and record the last bit.
Sure.
Where you're talking about Vintage Computer Festival East. So.
Yeah, and so I sent you a link for the... Oh, actually, you know what? We could do this fancy. Hold on one moment. Let me stop sharing this screen, and I will actually share the video file because then I think it's a little bit smoother. I won't play the audio because I'll just narrate what I saw.
Sure.
So if I mute it, okay, I think you have the playback controls for that. We might want to just do a test before.
What I will do is get that added to the stream.
It looks like you also still have Derek's comment on the screen, just so you know.
Hello.
Not that it's a bad comment, but StreamYard has a lot of buttons, let's just say that.
Right. I gotta figure out how to there we go. All right, so let me go ahead and start the audio or start recording.
Sure.
All right, so for the news segment of this week's episode, Steve is going to talk a bit about Vintage Computer Festival East. Take it away, Steve.
Thank you very much, John. So Vintage Computer Festival East happened a little earlier in October, and my video is a bit delayed, but what else is new? But I had a blast there. This was actually my first Vintage Computer Festival East. I'm going to play you a little bit of a muted video here. You could find the full version on my YouTube channel. But what was cool about this is I was an exhibitor, so I brought a bunch of machines to set up there. There's my Power Macintosh clone on the left. There's a G3 blue and white with a Voodoo 5 card in there. I met up with my friends Mike of Mike's Mac Shack and Sean of Action Retro. We all shared a booth and had a lot of fun. But it was one of these events that I've heard about for so long, but I've never attended the proper event. So it was very exciting to go to one of these events, meet a bunch of people. I had crazy contraptions set up, like this Quick Take 200 camera set up to a thermal black and white printer, so you could take selfies. You know?
Wait. Is that a printer built into something?
That printer is a medical imaging printer. So it's...
Oh my goodness.
It's this very chunky device.
Yeah, it looks very industrial.
Yeah, Tecmone did a video on that, and so I scooped that up over the summer with the sole purpose of plugging it into a camera and doing some silliness there. So you could see that version of Quake running buttery smooth on that G3, and it was just a blast. Yeah. The theme of the show was text adventures and IBM hardware, old IBM hardware. So Sean had a multi-user dungeon, a MUD set up on his Quadra 950 server, and was plugged into all of his cursed Macintosh machines that he brought with him, an LC575 and all this stuff. And there was just a lot of cool things to see. I'm not going to talk about everything, but the video is 35 minutes long, so you could imagine all the cool stuff that was there. I did end up picking up a few things. A few people donated some things. I finally have a Quadra 700. I'm so excited. It needs work, but I have a Quadra 700. So
this is the one that takes place in Boston or near Boston, correct?
No, this is in Wall, New Jersey. So this is only about less than an hour drive south of me.
Okay. You wouldn't happen to have run into somebody named Paul Hagstrom at all, would you? Are you familiar with Paul Hagstrom?
The name rings a bell. I might have. It was a blur, but I'll have to check my little notepad where I wrote down people's names.
If he was there with a display, there would have been an Apple III involved. I saw the Apple III in there, which is why
there were one or two Apple IIIs there. So sometimes when I went through to the booths, people were just not there. They were taking a break and such. But it's totally possible. This is a consignment room. All sorts of goodies for sale. Old Mac stuff, old PC stuff. Sealed dot matrix printers in the box. I mean, how could you say no? But yeah, this was a great event. For more information about it, go to vcfed.org. They have a few different events throughout the year. They're actually doing another one in New Jersey in April, so they're trying to get back on track. Oh, look at this poor machine! Yeah, that was $20 too much for me. I said no on that.
Yeah, because you don't need another project right now.
No. And if it had some more of the parts inside, I would have grabbed it just for parts. But it was already picked clean by the time I got to it.
So one last question is to get a table to display at this event. Did you have to pay for the table, or was it just open?
This was open. It was free.
That's great.
It was one of these things where. I don't know if that's how they were normally, because this is my first time going to one of these events. But from what I understand, they're very thoughtful over why people come to these shows, and that's to look at some of this stuff and have it on display. So I think this was obviously the first show that they've had a proper show before I'm sorry, after all this stuff happened where everyone was staying home and things. So this is one of those events where it was just basically like a return to form. So I'm not sure if that's the policy going forward, but I understand
is that a Pong I saw?
Yep, that's a
in the
Pong
background?
arcade machine.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
This
gosh.
room was, you walked in there, you smelled the dust off of the CRTs, and you're like, I'm home. You know?
Right.
But yeah, they had something for everybody there. That was a Lisa 2 running soft Windows, which was very mean for it, but hey, it was working. But yeah, so I go through in this video and talk more about all the things I found, and I'm just skimming through here. Here's
That's
an
great.
8600 I picked up, so that's that was a lot of fun.
If you've never gotten to go to a vintage computer festival, do a search online, find out if there's one in your area, because they are a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I had a blast. Yeah. I probably spent too much money, and my car was full. But you know what? Comes around once a year. What else are you going to do?
Absolutely.
And you've gone to one or two of these events, or you're planning on. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Well, the one that we go to, that James and I have been to, and I've been to on my own several times, is the Vintage Computer Festival Southeast in Atlanta.
Oh, that's
which is about a 4.5-5 hour drive for us. And the last couple of years that I went, I set up a really nice marathon, LAN.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll have to find pictures. It was great. It was a lot of fun. The last time I did it, I themed it as it was all in one Macs. Mm-hmm. With Marathon running on the lowest end one was my Mystic Color Classic,
nice.
Up to a G4 lump stick rectangle.
Oh, that's great.
The G4 iMac, yeah, and then everything kind of in between. It was a great setup. What was really funny is the thing that got the most attention though was I had the G3 Tooth, the
Molar Mac,
big old G3 Molar Mac all in one. People are like, "What the heck is that?" That was a lot of fun. But that's the last time I'm going to be able to do that, because some of the stuff is getting too brittle to take. If I do this again, it's probably all going to be laptops, Gizmos and maybe a couple of titaniums.
That I was thinking about too, because this is the first time I brought things there, but I was thinking about what's feasible for me to bring, what is not so delicate, or
right.
You have to leave the stuff overnight. What is that you don't mind if it gets scuffed up or manhandled a little bit, because people are going to come up to the booth, they're going to tap on the keyboard, they're going to do this, they're going to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right.
So
I didn't what would be
these things that would crumble if somebody looked at it wrong.
What would be kind of fun that I could see doing would be to do a bunch of Compact Macs and do like Spectre. Have you ever played Spectre?
Yes.
It runs so well, even on a Mac Plus, and it's Apple Talk, a great black and white Apple Talk game. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'll run on newer systems too, and they're all compatible with each other. I'm
just laughing because this part of the video here is Sean from Action Retro brought a Macintosh clone here, and he had it running Leopard. This thing is tricked out to oblivion.
Oh my gosh.
And it sort of had an issue during the show, and so this was his result of trying to limp it back to life for the rest of the event, and everything that could go wrong was going wrong, so that's why there's a rest in peace tag above it. Very spooky, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Check out the rest of the video for that. But that part of the show, just walking around, seeing different things, talking to people, everyone was so friendly of what they brought, why they brought it. There were a bunch of folks next to us, and the feats that they accomplished were incredible, but they essentially reverse engineered and rescued and hacked together a bunch of the old equipment that used to power what was on the Weather Channel back in the 80s and the 90s.
Cool.
And so, a lot of the stuff was lost to time, and they cobbled together the resources that they had. They had to dig into the ROMs to get data from the fonts and everything off of them, and they had them on display. What was so cool about that is, you walk by, you see these big, converted SGI things that were running the weather station software, but they were also broadcasting it. So there was a guy walking around with a little Sony Watchman with the Weather Channel being displayed on there because they were broadcasting it a mile radius or whatever it was. That
That
was
is
so
killer.
cool.
Yeah.
That was really
Oh
neat.
yeah, and that is another great thing about like I remember the first Vintage Computer Festival we went to. So I'm an Apple guy. That's all I had. That was all that was in our school. Really, that was all I had at home was Apple IIs. My Apple IIe, and from that to Macintosh. And the first Vintage Computer Festival I went to, I happened to be across the table from a guy with Commodore 64 set up.
Oh,
And I was just amazed at the graphics, the colors on the
yeah.
Commodore 64 versus the Apple II. And like, wow! I mean, I was blown away at just because I mean, let's face it, the Apple II series, unless you're counting the 2GS, the color on them was pretty janky. I
Yeah.
mean, it was pretty impressive how Woz came up with how to do it, but
Oh, of course.
by the time the Apple IIe came around, it was kind of a limitation, because they couldn't really. They had to keep it backwards compatible, so they weren't able.
Yeah,
to
it was
kind of
still
go
just
forward.
as
They
janky
were
as
kind
the
of-
as the original.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what's exciting about this, because you come across machines that
Sure.
you would have never seen. There was
Yep.
an Acorn set up there, and of course they weren't really available outside of Europe. So coming across an Acorn, it's like, oh, I've never seen that before. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's something that is exciting. And I mean, to be honest, with the Apple stuff, it's like there's only so much stuff out there. So like once you learn all that what you want to learn about that particular platform or the machine, it might get boring. So it's like, oh, well, here's something Commodore related, or here's
Yep.
something Sinclair related. Like, let me dive into that and go crazy learning about that for a while.
Well, all right, guys. I think that's probably going to be about it for this episode. We're going to do the outro.
Great.
So I will go ahead and start recording that.
Sure.
Well, that is it for this episode of the RetroMacCast. Next week, I am going to be talking about the Koala Mac Vision, and we'll have that set up on the 512K Mac I've got still running. So it's managed to make it through this episode. Let's hope it continues to do that. So until next week, remember, it's not old.
It's retro. I can't
All right,
quite.
nice.
I can't quite mimic your voice, but I tried.
That was
I will
great.
never forget the first time I did that. James is like, "Well, I guess that's one way to do it." I'm like, "Oh,
Oh my gosh! Oh
like
my gosh!
heart, my heart."
Some sass from James. Wow.
Oh, we love him though.
Absolutely. Oh well, thanks everyone for joining us on the stream. I have to say I really enjoy seeing all the peeps come in every week and share this time with us. It really it's really added a great level to the podcast, and I appreciate it.
Oh, I think it's a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So bye everyone.
Happy Halloween.